Alrighty, so this is a game I'm working on called Snowy the Snowman. Haven't gotten too far this time around, but I have been working on this game in one form or another for a long time. So far, aesthetically, this is my favorite version. I did the model here last Christmas, and this tile set I just did a few days ago. It's not perfect. The more you look at it, the more imperfections you'll see, but the general kind of, I don't know, it's what I'm going for. So I'll be doing more tile sets in the future that will be better quality. And today I'm going to be working on the animations for him. So as you can see, he's got a walking animation. I like that a lot. There doesn't seem to be any need to fix that. His idle animation here, he is kind of bobbing up and down, but you can see that at a certain point it kind of clips to the beginning, and I don't like that. I want it to be pretty smooth. His jumping and falling animation is great, and those are the only animations I have in there for now. What I need to do is work on some animations today, so I'll be working on an idle animation, a wall slide like in some of the Mario games. I need an idle shoot animation, a jump shoot animation, climb animation I already have, it's just not in this version yet, and then I'll need to make a climb shooting animation as well, and of course a hat spin jump. I'll show you what that is, because I'm just going to be shutting down this anyway for now. So basically I started working on this game in 2004 in GameMaker Studio 5. No, sorry, not GameMaker Studio 5, just GameMaker 5, way back in the day. And I don't have that version on my computer right now. I'll get that on my computer at some point here. This is a remake I started on last year. I've actually got a devlog series going on another channel, but I'm going to be moving that over to this one. And in that channel, basically, I wanted to restart the project, and I was split between doing the project in GameMaker Studio and Unity. And Unity was a bit difficult on my computer at the time because, actually I had a different computer that was a potato, and now I've got a new one with a graphics card, and Unity works just fine. So, last year I decided to go with making the game in pixel art again, which is a great choice, but I'm leaning towards making the game in 3D because I've been working on 2D games for years, and I really would like to jump into making some more 3D games. Plus, I have a whole bunch of other 2D games in the works. So that right there that you saw is the hat spin. It's there to kind of help them. It's almost like a double jump, really. There we go. And okay, that's it for that. I also, as you can see here, tried putting in 3D. It's not actually a 3D model. I rendered a bunch of images in Blender, kind of like they did in Diablo 2 and Diablo 1, I think. And it actually looked pretty good in game when I tested it, but it still has its limitations, and I really would like to work on the game in Unity for now. So let's get over to Blender. Okay, so here is his walking animation. Okay, idle, climbing, let's see. This one might need a little bit of work too. Looks mostly good. It's fall state. Let's see. Not so sold on this animation yet. Okay. So okay, idle needs work first. Just gonna try something here. Okay, Control C and Control Shift V. Let's see how that looks. Not good at all. Okay, I have no clue what happened there. Okay. Don't even know if this is going to work, but basically what I'm doing is I'm copy and pasting the keyframes in reverse. May have messed up on one of these. Okay. Okay, so 15. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 15. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm definitely messing up here somewhere. Or maybe not. We had 29 frames before, so let's see how that looks. Oh, perfect. Oh, I'm so happy with that. I had no idea if that was going to work. That is awesome. Oh, that's so much better. Alright, save that. Oh, that's so cool. Alright, next. Okay, we got his walk. His walk is fine, his jump is fine, his fall is fine. Wall slide, that's a completely new state. And I'm going to push this down. New. Okay. Now, normally in a 3D game, so when he's facing this way, if he was facing the other way, his face, if you can call it that, would be facing away from the camera. So let's look at him from this side. And if you remember from the beginning, that didn't actually look that way. What I'm doing is the same thing that I do in 2D games. Basically, you just draw everything in one direction and then flip the image. And turns out when I was doing the 2.5D, I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to flip the image the same way I do in 2D games. So basically, what I did was I just did a scale on the Z axis, even though that's not technically like viewable in the game, but it flips his direction. So all my animations in this are going to be facing to the right, and I won't need to do any adjustments to the left because in game I'm just scaling the Z axis. Okay, so wall slide. I haven't posed him in a while. Let's see how this goes. Pose, transform. I guess that's his base. Oh, okay. Okay, so let's think. He's falling down. And now, of course, I'm starting to not have much luck. I'm still pretty new to Blender. I mean, not really. I've been I've been using it for about a year on and off, but I by no means am an expert, and I have no idea why this is stuck right now. I can move it around. Let me see. You have to rotate that. Rotate this. Okay. Don't want that. Okay. So he's fallen down. His hat's kind of up in the air. want his hand kind of up, like along the wall. Rotate his feet. I have a feeling this one might need a bit of tweaking, like back and forth in the game. I'm gonna move this up since we only see it in two directions. Oh yeah, that looks pretty good. There we go. Alright, so the feet and the hand is going to stay in place. 2, 3, 4. What I'm going to do is just make the hat kind of go all over the place. Okay, now why is he moving up and down? That looks like motion from the idle animation. Which I don't want. Okay, I'm gonna worry about that after. For the time being, I'm going to just worry about this. Yeah, I see it's moving. See how that looks. Actually, and I will be wanting to go back over this when I can figure out this movement thing, because just like the last animation I did, I'll have to start pasting the keyframes in reverse. Okay. So what part of this is moving up and down? I don't understand. Okay. Alright, so the animation is saved. I'm going to go to this one here and see why that's okay. gonna have to look this one up. Okay, let's see.
So we are about
This guy's pretty awesome.
to plow through the animation tutorials as fast as possible. But before we do, there's one more thing that I thought you should know. And that is deleting animations you don't need anymore. Now originally I wasn't gonna cover this, but enough of you guys brought this up in the comments last video, and the answer is so ridiculously unintuitive that I believe it's unreasonable to expect the average user to figure this stuff out without looking it up. So here we go. Most of you have probably noticed that when you make a new animation, it ends up in a list here. And sometimes you make a shitty animation, and that's fine. Happens to the best of us, all the time. But when you try to get rid of it, most reasonable people would intuitively assume that the X button would delete the animation that you are currently working on. And rightly so, since that's literally what X means in any software ever created. I mean, for God's sakes. Even Microsoft, Apple, and Google, who hate each other, all agree on their web browsers that X is what you click when you want to get rid of something for good. But no! Not in Blender. You press this button, not only does that not happen, the animation is still wasting space on your list. As it turns out, you're supposed to hold shift before you left click the X to really delete your animation completely.
Wow.
Otherwise, it just halfway deletes it by unlinking the animation from the name. For reals? Like, holy shit. How is anyone supposed to know that without being told? The shift click version of this button really needs to be the default command. I don't know a single person in my entire software career that's ever wanted to halfway delete a file of anything. Also, apparently, even if you perform the shift click version of the X button, it won't affect anything until after you close and open the software again. Yes, you heard me. You have to close and reopen the software if you want to continue working on your project without seeing the animation you just deleted continue to show up in your workflow. There's only one way for you to delete the animation without having to close and reopen the project, and it goes something like this. The way Blender wants you to delete animations is by going up here to the top right, click on the icon that looks like a Microsoft Paint logo from 1995, go to this thing called Blender File, and from here you will see a list of a whole bunch of stuff you will probably never touch. But up here, if you click on this thing called Actions, you will finally find the list of all your animations. Now just wait, it gets even better. When you finally see the animation you want to destroy, and you try to take it out by clicking on it and pressing the delete key, you know, like a normal person would, nothing happens. That is right. You can't just click on something and press delete. No, that makes too much sense. You have to click on it, then you have to right click, and then you have to click on delete from the menu. And wait, there's more. That's right, I'm not done yet. If you thought that was fucking awful, as it turns out, this is also the same way that you were supposed to delete your unused materials. And again, you can't just select one and press delete, which means that if you have a bunch of materials that you don't want, you literally have to delete them one at a time. And it's not over. Oh yeah, you probably noticed that if you go to the action menu, that not only are your animations here, your pose libraries are also in here. Why the fuck are these two things in the same list? Now, I understand from a software developer's perspective that Blender saves pose libraries as separate frames of an animation. But from the user perspective, a pose library and an animation are totally different things. I made 4 pose libraries for the face and hands, but every time I want to use one, I gotta waste time finding it in the middle of an ocean of unrelated animation. And it's actually the same with the animation list. Sometimes you'll be going through your animations and you'll accidentally click on a pose library because the name puts it right next to an unrelated animation alphabetically. Now, this stuff had better be fixed in the next version of Blender, because I am willing to bet my life that the vast majority of people who pressed this button expected it to delete their animation. And if you disagree with me on this particular detail, you are wrong. Objectively wrong. Subjectively wrong. Morally, ethically, and sexually wrong. And you should burn in Blender hell for all eternity in agonizing pain and sorrow. If this is not fixed by 2.9, we are gonna have a talk with your mother. And she will not be pleased when she hears about the software atrocities you have committed against humanity.
Well, I don't know if
so, you
this
have been warned.
applies
Anyway, that's how you
specifically
delete
to me,
animations.
but it's
Don't ask me
definitely
why.
good to
I don't call
know.
the shots, I'm just the messenger. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like, subscribe.
Okay.
What's up, guys? Justin here with the CGEssentials.com, back with another Blender animation tutorial for you. So in today's video, I'm going to show you how to animate a moving spaceship where your camera flies around the spaceship, as well as part of the ship itself is going to spin around the central axis. So we're going to focus specifically on animating the movements and how we can use the animation editor in order to achieve this. So let's go ahead and just jump into it.
Don't think that's relevant. I'll be right back. And I'm back. Okay, so I need like a be right back screen because staring at this must be awful. Anyway. Let's go back into Blender for a second. Let's see. Okay, this is ringing a bell. Ah, yes, I think I remember this, and it does have to do with the unlink. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, let's see if this is the one if I'm not mistaken, if you don't unlink it, then some of that momentum carries over, so okay, save and fingers crossed. It still has that downward momentum. This is annoying. So I unlinked it. but because I created it when it was still linked, maybe? I don't know. Well, okay. The annoying thing is that I can't see which... I mean, this is the root bone, I believe. So it should be showing its motion. This really shouldn't be this complicated. Okay.
Keyframes are the foundation of animation. Even if you aren't familiar with animation, you've probably still heard of the word frames, as in frames per second. Frames are basically just still images, and the number of frames per second is how many still images are shown sequentially on screen per second. A sequence of frames creates a moving image. Keyframes are the most important, or key, frames in a moving image. And for an animation, these are set manually by a human animator. The keyframes are typically where the key poses of your characters lie. In other words, if someone was doing a run cycle, The keyframes would be most likely at the extreme points of the run cycle, as well as some important transitions between how the legs move relative to the rest of the body. So what do keyframes do for animation? Well, in digital animation, if you mark the key poses, the software can often interpolate or blend the frames in between so that you get a smooth movement between keyframes. This is also known as tweening, and keyframes are the foundation of animation because without them, the software would not know how to tween or how to move the character. I'm going to quickly demonstrate how to create and edit keyframes in Blender. Now, it's very important to know that keyframing works functionally the same for objects, bones, and you can even keyframe visibility, materials, and several other values.
That's pretty cool.
Before we begin, I want you to know that there are 3 keyframe editors. These are the graph editor, the dope sheet, and the timeline. All 3 of these have the ability to manipulate keyframes, and I will reference them here and there. But the timeline is what we'll be showing as the default screen has it at the bottom of the layout workspace. However, we'll go in depth about each of these editors in their own separate videos. The first thing we'll want to know is how to insert keyframes. There are several ways to do this, but it's simple enough. The first way is to simply select something and right-click for a context menu, or right-click directly on the value and see if it has the Insert Keyframe option. If so, that value can be keyframed. Let's take this rotation mode drop-down for example. As you can see, the value will turn yellow, meaning there is a keyframe on your current frame for that value. This will also create a visible keyframe in your dope sheet and timeline at your current frame, marked by these small yellow shapes. They should be yellow circles by default, but are sometimes squares or diamonds depending on your handle type. They are also typically diamonds in the timeline, but we'll get more into this in the dope sheet and timeline videos. For some things, such as objects and bones in the 3D viewport, you'll also see an additional menu pop up when you try to insert keyframes. For example, if we select our cube, you'll see a list of options that looks like this. I typically pick Lock Rot Scale, as it'll insert a keyframe in all 3 transformation channels. But feel free to experiment and choose an option that's most appropriate for your situation. For hotkey users, simply select the object you want to keyframe or hover over the value you want to keyframe and press I as an insert to insert a keyframe in the same way. Another way to insert keyframes is with the Auto Keyframe feature. Enabling Auto Keyframe mode will actually automatically record changes and transformations we make to any object in our 3D scene and insert keyframes for us. It will also record changes in values that have been keyframed before. To test this out, I'm going to select a different object. In fact, let's add a monkey to our scene. And to set a keyframe for this monkey object on our current frame with the Auto Keyframe feature, we can go to our timeline and press this white circle record icon button. Now that Auto Keyframe is enabled, if we move or transform our monkey in some way in the viewport, you can see a keyframe being automatically generated here in our timeline and dope sheet. Now, you may notice after inserting the first keyframe, transforming our object further doesn't seem to insert new keyframes. But the reality is, it is changing the current keyframe, it's just replacing it. To insert a separate keyframe, we'll want to change our current frame first. So how do we move our current frame to a different position in the timeline? The current frame is indicated by this value here, which you can edit manually like most values in Blender. But a few other ways is to left-click drag the top of the timeline here, or hold Alt and use the scroll wheel. For fine-tuning, you can also press the left and right arrow keys. Anyways, for this, I'm going to just move to frame 20. Once we move to a later point in our timeline, let's set another keyframe by simply transforming our object again.
I'll be right back.
Move it just a bit to the right. Now that we have more than one keyframe, we can see the automatic interpolation, or tweening process that the software does for us to create animation. Let's drag our timeline back to the beginning and press the play button. For hotkey users, you can press spacebar. Okay, now you can see our monkey is moving. What we're seeing here is the software taking our two keyframes and interpolating the transformation between the first location and the second location. This interpolation can be tweaked in the dope sheet or graph editor, but we'll talk about those in their own separate videos. For now, this is our masterpiece. But what if you want to delete keyframes? How do we do that? Well, to delete keyframes, you can simply use the timeline or dope sheet, select the keyframes you want to delete with left click, and press the delete key. Alternatively, you can also navigate to the frame with that keyframe and right click for a context menu. Then select delete keyframe. Quick tip, from this same menu, you can also click clear keyframes to delete all keyframes for that value. It's important to note, however, that the delete keyframes option is not available.
Lock the location like right there. Okay, Blender. Let's see it. I'll try this though. Nope. This animation is so good. Obviously, when I made this the first time, I must have known how to fix this problem because I have animations that aren't affected by other animations.
In the 3D viewport context menu, but you can still go to the object menu, go to animation, and select delete keyframe from that menu. For hotkey users, you can select the object or hover over the value with the keyframe on the current frame and press Alt-I to delete keyframes in the same way. One more thing you'll want to know about keyframes is the ability to change keyframe type. This might sound advanced, but in reality it just means keyframe color. This is used for organization of keyframes that are used for certain purposes. For example, you can mark your extreme pose keyframes by selecting them, right-click in the timeline for a context menu, go to keyframe type, and select extreme. This will give your selected keyframes the extreme pink keyframe color. Other colors include blue, orange, and green. For hotkey users, you can hover over the timeline and press the R key to bring up the keyframe type menu. That value. It's important to note, however, that the Delete Keyframes option is not available in the 3D viewport context menu, but you can still go to the Object menu, go to Animation, and select Delete Keyframe from that menu. For hotkey users, you can select the object or hover over the value with the keyframe on the current frame and press Alt-I to delete keyframes in the same way.
I wonder... No. Okay, but I might have to redo this animation over again, but I think that is the solution. Pose, clear transform. Perhaps, whatever. I'll just do that over again. So I am in pose mode. There we go. That looks pretty good. And he's not moving up and down, which is perfect. Okay. Now, this is done over the course of five keyframes. So let's see. And it looks like I did the same thing where I kind of copy and paste the keyframes. Cool. All right. Two. That should only copy the keyframes for the selected bone, which actually might not have been that great of an idea. Because I didn't select all the bones that had moved, but still looks pretty good. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, so second animation done. Push that down just to be safe. I know that when you push it down, it goes to the non-linear animator. I don't really know what that is, but I still have access to this, so that's all I really care about. Okay, so we did the idle. We've got the walk, the jump, the fall. We just did the wall slide finally. Now it's time for the idle shoot. These are going to be difficult. I don't know how I'm going to do these, but I'll figure it out. Okay, so first, okay, so now that I think about this, I know Unity's Animator is pretty cool in that you can animate certain sections of the body doing different things at different times, which actually would be useful for this because I can do a shooting motion with his hands, but I can only do a set number during the bob up and down, and I don't know exactly how to explain what the problem is. But it could really mess up with the timing of when the player presses the shoot button, right? So like, let's just say player is just kind of bobbing up and down there, and he presses X, and I have the X button as the attack button. So let's say he presses X right now. Starting with his hat being right up here, at this point we'd want the shooting animation to happen. But if I just do it in here, then each time he's shot, for example, his hat would just snap to right here, which wouldn't look good. Or we'd have to wait until, say, the beginning of the frame to start the animation, which wouldn't be good either because it wouldn't feel very responsive. So what I'm hoping I can get done is that I can do a shooting animation where I just move his hands, and I can translate that into Unity. That way I can control his hands separately, and they won't interfere with the rest of the animations. It'll also make animating it a lot simpler and a lot faster. The only downside I can think of is that when I have his hands doing something like moving up and down there, that may not happen. So I may have to do separate hand animations. But that's cool. and specifically it would come in it would be troublesome when it comes to the wall slide animation, but I'll tackle that when I get to it. So jump shoot and idle shoot, and I should also fall shoot in there. Those I'm gonna circle back to because those will all be done with the same animation. The climb shoot, maybe you'll see about the climb shoot now. Actually, no. I'm gonna save all the shooting animations for when I need them, because I have a feeling that if I have to set up two different animation layers, then that's going to add a whole bunch of complexity. So I'd like to do that all at the same time. So for now, what I'm going to do is add the hat spin jump, and so that means today we'll have done the idle animation, the wall slide, the hat spin. I'd like to get those into the game, and then that's probably it for today. So let's do the hat spin. Okay. I'm going to use the fall animation for this. It'll just look better. New. Actually, before I do that, let's play it and see if anything happens. That should actually be fine because we're going to be overwriting that. And if not, whatever. Okay. Alright. I was just thinking about how to do this. So, I know that re-importing this into Unity, I haven't done that in a while. But again, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Okay. Apparently it was fine this time. I don't know why it started there. Okay, I'm going to do this from above. This might look pretty bad. Uh-oh. Okay, let's see what that looks like. That actually looks pretty good. And I didn't even have to do the kind of copy backwards thing or copy the keyframe. Yeah, I like that. Now, hopefully deleting this 10th keyframe isn't gonna mess anything up. Push that down. Alright, so we got the three main animations I want to get in there. Export FBX. Alright, let's go back to Unity. Okay. Snowy complete 2. Yeah, so what I want is, I believe what I want is a humanoid body type, which for him is going to be almost impossible because he's just like a head, two separate hands, two separate feet. I don't know how that's going to work, but I'll figure it out. Now what I want to do is switch this Snowy with the new Snowy. I'll have to remember this stuff. Okay. should have paid attention to what rotation it was. Let's just check that out for a second. Cool. I'm gonna need to redo all these. Oh yeah. I'm still trying to figure out Unity. Maybe more than one idle. Let's check that out. Come on. Yeah, that looks so much better than it did in at the beginning of this video. Wait, let's see if that animation script flips the... Yeah, perfect. Perfect. It's walking false. Alright, let's try that. That actually might not look like it's as perfect as I had originally thought. Maybe I have the wrong walking animation. Okay, so pushing down these things created a few animations. Good to know. So when I'm done this stream, I'm going to look up some things with Unity and Blender, particularly with importing new animations, because I don't want to be doing what I'm doing right now every single time I add new animations. Hopefully, now that I used a different model than I originally had, hopefully I can just re-import him and that's it, and then just add in the extra animations, because looking at that walking animation, it's not that big of a deal right now. I've got bigger fish to fry, but it looks like it snaps a little bit. But when it comes to this idle pose now, that's just fantastic. But I do want to speed up that walk. It doesn't really match up. He looks very robotic. Speed 2. I can't remember what I had it on before. I think I might have had it on 1.5. Maybe that's why I didn't notice the hat. It's harder to tell there. Two looks pretty good. I'll try 1.5. Just before I commit to that. Hmm. 1.8. Let's see how that looks. Very close. That looks good. Although, based on the speed that he's moving at, still like he's sliding along, so I think he may need a faster move speed. Let's try 2 again. And this may seem like I'm being a bit nitpicky here, but that's just one of the things you gotta be sometimes when it comes to game design. Like, if you're looking at him, it looks like he's going pretty fast. But if you look at his feet, that looks like the speed that he should be moving at. So I'm gonna leave it at 2.2 for now. I'll come back to that later if I need to. Now let's try jumping and falling. Snowy shoot, no. Snowy jump. I'm going to need to add another variable in here once I get the hat spin going. These animations may need some tweaking in the future as well. Oh, yeah. There we go. Gravity seems a bit off. But the animation's looking pretty good. So there's a bit of a delay between landing. Okay. Let's try that. I'm not liking that. I don't know why. Okay. See what's going on in the script. Yeah, so I don't know why that animation is lagging like that. Well, I'll be right back. Alright, I'm back. Let's see. Okay. What the hell? that happen with gravity when it was less gravity? What the hell? It's working fine now. Alright. Looks even better now. Alright, I'm not going to question it. I'm just going to go with it. And now for the wall slide. This is going to be new. I don't really know what I'm doing here, so it may not be that interesting, but oh well. Should we get that? And you know, let's do the hat spin first. That should be a little bit simpler. No, not yet. Okay. I'm gonna try something. I don't know if this is gonna work. Alright, let's try this out. Alright, I gotta take a little break here, but I will finish this later. So thanks for watching.